Hello, my name is Mike Kennedy, and I'm a professor here in family medicine and the Associate Dean for Rural Health Education. And first, I'd like to congratulate you on being invited for an interview. That's very exciting. And should things go well and you matriculate here at KU, then I wanted to talk to you about what some of your options could be for rural programming. Kansas has a rich heritage for rural medical education. As a largely rural state, we have had a focus on this for many, many years. I also wanted to point out that throughout the presentation, I have a few slides that are photographs that I took as I have been making my travels around rural Kansas. Our mission at the Office of Rural Med Ed is to foster educational experiences in rural settings. So while you have a scripted program of medical education here at one of the three campuses, we want to offer you an alternative for getting some of your some of your medical education in a rural setting. Kansas is consistently ranked in the top 10% in the nation of all 144 allopathic medical schools for its rural programs. Recently, the AAMC ranked us in the 94th percentile for our graduates choosing to work in rural areas. So we have a significant degree of success. The question is, how do we go about that, and what are your opportunities? So we like to think of rural medical education as a train or a track rather than a pipeline. Pipelines have rigid walls typically, and it's a significant thing for you to sign on for a pipeline program. KU instead has a rural track, and you can stay on this track towards a career in rural medicine. And there's program cars along the way. There are many stops, and many people choose to move from one program car to the next. However, there are opportunities to get off. And so if you find that rural medicine just isn't for you, then there are many programs that offer no penalty for getting off. On the other hand, many students find that there are opportunities they hadn't considered, and they're excited about the possibility of future rural medicine practice. So having this structure allows students to get on at those stops. So we'll talk about several of the rural programs here. Many programs I've listed, but I'm not going to discuss each of these. In particular, I want to discuss the ones that are highlighted. These are the ones that you will encounter during your 4 years of medical school. So let's start with the Rural Medical Education Network. The Rural Medical Education Network was started in 1998 as a result of a large grant. And it's a structure in which we have site directors at each one of these regions in Kansas. The stars mark where the site directors are, and they are all family physicians in rural practice. They provide us with a perspective, but they also provide you with an opportunity to work with them in their practices, as well as a fairly large network that they've developed in each one of their regions of physicians that take students for anywhere from 1 week up to 2 months. So let's talk about the Office of Rural Med Ed for a second, and then we'll move to each program and a description. The Office of Rural Medical Education is actually fairly recent. There was a rather substantial donation by the McCann family, and so the office was established through that funding and has been in place since 2007. The office then has provided administration oversight, but also expansion of many of the rural programs that we offer today. I would encourage you to visit this site. There are items of interest for current students. Also, you can see kind of the information that we give to preceptors and communities. And then we have a few interesting things about the statistics of rural medical education. In addition, as the site undergoes redesign, we also plan to include an area where students have generated articles about rural Kansas over the years. The QR code will take you right to the site. So let's talk about the Rural Medicine Interest Group. This is a program that started in December of 2006. Largely, it was a collaborative idea between faculty, myself included, and several students. And the idea was to form an interest group on campus that's focus was rural medicine, regardless of specialty. It started, as I said, in 2006, but with only 15 members and has now grown to 138. It is one of the only tri-campus organizations, so that means that the leadership is represented from 3 co-presidents, one from each regional campus. Largely, the activities are lunch meetings where we invite a wide variety of people of great interest to students who are interested in rural medicine. We've had many local physicians talk about their practices and their lives. We've had administrators, we've had the people from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, and then we've also enjoyed national leaders from the Rural Health Association to come and talk to our student body about rural medicine. We have student leaders that go to Washington, D.C., and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the Rural Medicine Interest Group also was the big founding push to start a Kansas Rural Health Association. And so this chapter exists today largely because of the Rural Medicine Interest Group. Faculty advisors are one from each campus, as you can see, and we work collaboratively to foster the interests of students for rural medicine and for rural leadership and advocacy. Now that brings us to the Scholarship, Enrichment, and Remediation Weeks. As you will find out as you go through, the structure in the first 2 years is largely consists of 8 weeks of a module and then a 9th week in which you can have several different opportunities. If you need to remediate for the previous 8 weeks, then that structure is in place. But most students don't need to remediate. Therefore, they would like to exercise their scholarship, and they may be on an honors program, or they can participate in many of the different Enrichment Week activities that exist. We have a Rural Enrichment Week, and many students have partaken in this. It's the first 3 to 4 days out of the week in which the student is able to go and work one-on-one with a practicing physician. This is one of those safe activities that I was talking about earlier, and you can go and sample rural medicine, or if you have a mentor from a previous relationship, then you can go back and enjoy practicing medicine in their office. In addition to the Rural Enrichment Week, we also have Rural Leadership and Advocacy Week. And so this is where the leadership in the Rural Medicine Interest Group apply to qualify to go to a trip to Washington, D.C. Expenses are largely offset, and the students get to participate in the National Rural Health Association's Policy Institute. And they have an excellent time learning about what the issues are in rural medicine, learning about advocacy techniques, and then they actually get to visit with our leaders in Washington. A couple of years ago, the students went, they got to visit the Capitol, and then we also got to visit with leadership, and a sample here is Senator Moran. The next feather that we, in our collective cap, that we're really proud of is the School of Medicine Regional Campus in Salina. This campus opened in 2011 and then moved to a new building in 2018. And that new building's in the background there. This is really the first 4-year School of Medicine program of its size. When it started, was the smallest program in the United States, and it's largely supported by the Salina community and affiliates, the Regional Health Center. I have pictured here the first graduating class in 2015, and the school there has continued to enjoy a great deal of success. So that's an option that you could consider. Another option after your first year and the summer between your first and second year of medical education is the summer training option in rural medicine. This program started in 1992, so it's in its 28th year. It's with our office, but also the Department of Family Medicine in collaboration with the Kansas Academy of Family Physicians, and then enjoys a great deal of funding support from philanthropy. And what that funds is a stipend for students so that they can maintain their households while they go out and enjoy a summer working with a rural physician. Each year there's about 30 to 40 students that participate in this from all the campuses. The students come back absolutely raving about what a great opportunity it's been. They do not shadow in this program. They participate. And for a recently minted second-year medical student, that's an extraordinary opportunity. We have them write reflection essays, and this is a word cloud from those essays, largely describing the fact that during the summer program, they get to work with a doctor and they're able to experience patient care front and center. The students do a wide variety of procedures. On the outpatient side, they get to do joint injections, skin lesion biopsies, wound care, minor surgeries. And on the inpatient side, they get to do vaginal deliveries, circumcisions, scrub into surgery. And largely they work in the ambulatory care in the hospital as well as the emergency room. And the students represent, again, all the campuses. They are spread across the entire state. And in addition to this, they get to participate in a research project. The research projects are designed by a committee, and then the students participate in those. Many of the students have gone on to continue that work and have actually presented at national and international conferences as a result of their work. Next is in the third year of the School of Medicine. Then there is a rural option for 4 of the clerkships. So while this isn't offered necessarily from each campus, it depends largely on the clerkship. So Wichita and Kansas City both offer a family medicine option. And then from Kansas City, OBGYN, general surgery, and pediatrics are offered. And the students are allowed to then go and do their clinical clerkship in a rural setting. So what's the advantage? Well, one of the big advantages is you get a one-on-one experience with a teaching, attending faculty member, which is not the experience that most students get from Kansas City and Wichita. They usually work with a team of residents and doctors that constantly change, and in the rural setting, they really get a good experience with one physician, and they also have a physician who knows them well, who could become a letter writer later. So it's been very popular, continues to grow. We continue to expand this program. An extension of this is the extended rural clerkship. And what we've done is we just combine all four of those options and have the student do all those in one location. So currently we offer the extended rural clerkship in Pittsburgh, which is in the southeast part of the state. The clerkships offered there are surgery, family med, peds, and OBGYN. The student usually does the first three clerkships, internal medicine, neurology, and psychiatry in the urban location, and then moves to Pittsburgh. So if you're from the Pittsburgh area, this is absolutely the program for you. The students can also do part of their fourth year, so you can spend as many as 9 months in a rural setting. If your plan is to become a rural physician, then this is an ideal situation for you. Lastly is the fourth-year rural preceptorship. This is our oldest program. It was formed in 1949, actually by the dean at the time, who was Franklin Murphy. And he worked a program that included several other things. But one of the activities was the rural preceptorship. We are now in our 69th year, and students started going out in 1951. Since then, more than 16,000 graduates of the University of Kansas have participated in this rural preceptorship. It is a required program for your graduation. And one of the things that you may think at this point is, going away from home for a month is burdensome. But actually, the students return from this glowing about what they were able to accomplish, the impact that it had on their education overall, and that it was largely, and I quote from many, many, many reflection papers, one of the best experiences in medical school that I had. So that pretty much rounds out the opportunities for rural medical education in your undergraduate years. And by undergraduate, I mean before you attain your MD. And so there's some other opportunities, and certainly we are open to discuss with you any questions that you might have. But just remember, it's rural by choice. And so whether your background is rural or urban, what's your future look like? Love to discuss it with you. Thank you very much. And that ends my talk.